And we are live. What's up, everybody? It's Kristin and Charlie here with another Kristin and Charlie chat. Like how we named that after ourselves. As we are recapping, it is Tuesday here as we're broadcasting this, and we are recapping yesterday's Thriving Blind Academy mentorship call, which if you have been tuning into these recaps, you know that Mondays are my favorite day of the week because from noon to 1 in those mentorship calls, we basically fix Kristin. The goal is for all of us to come together and the thrivers, support each other. And we talk about strategies for success, current challenges. And I'm telling you, every single Monday, the neurons in my brain are fired up as I learn new strategies and all kinds of things to continue thriving and succeeding with sight. Even though we built this platform to succeed without sight, it doesn't matter. So yesterday we dove into the concept of the rule of 5. And oh my God, Charlie, I got to tell you, I implemented what I talked about, my aha moment yesterday. I implemented it this morning, and it was a very, very chilly morning here at 5:30 a.m. in Philadelphia after, I don't really want to talk about it, but after a game that did not end the way we wanted it to with the Braves last night in our Red October here in Philly. But that's a whole nother show that we can do. We'll have Mitchell call in. No, we won't. Anyway, let's get back on course here. Charlie, the rule of 5. How about you break it down for everybody? Then we'll talk about what some things are that came out of that conversation yesterday.
Well, first of all, you said, let's get back on course. You were the only one talking.
Me and all my personalities had to get back on course.
Nice try. And another thing that I heard loud and clear was Mondays are my favorite day. Now that's pissing off a lot of people because a lot of people don't like Mondays. Why? Because they go back to work. And why does that suck? Because they don't love what they're doing. They're not passionate about it. They don't understand these rules, or I don't even like saying that word, but the success type principles you can start implementing, and you find that you will attract and move on to the job, the career, that you can too wake up on a Monday and say, doesn't matter. It's a great day. Fridays are a great day. It's not TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. No. TGI Thursday. I mean, none of that matters. And I know it's because we practice these principles in all our affairs. And it gives us that, Mondays are so cool because the energy on the Monday call. And when we started talking about the rule, and then I said, listen, don't take it as, again, set aside the word rule if that bothers you. Put it aside. Let's take a fresh look at it because we always like to create new experiences on these Monday calls, because what Corey might add, what Suzette adds, what Tara adds, what you add, how we implement these principles and things like that. We all learn from each other. It's so cool. And so there's 5 things. Could be 1 thing. It could be 3 things. But there's 5 things you could do on a daily basis, a weekly basis, because you have the end in mind. I want to get rid of my tricep jiggle. and I don't know who put it there. But so what do I got to do about that? Well, I could set aside a program of action and then say, this is what I want to feel.
Uh-oh, we lost Charlie. Technical difficulties here at Thriving Blind Academy. Charlie is while he's getting reconnected. He's talking about this rule of 5, chunking down a big goal into smaller things and things that you can do every single day. Now, for me, yesterday, I was talking about I want to get the children's book for Thriving Blind Academy out there into the world. And oh my gosh, when I look at it as, well, if I could just get on 20 podcasts, or actually I set a goal of 50 podcasts, because let's face it, it's me, right? 50 podcasts. Well, you can reach out to 50 people and maybe one of them will say yes. Charlie, you back? Well, now he's muted. This kind of stuff drives Charlie crazy, which for some reason, it makes me crack up to see him so frustrated. You're still muted. I'm such a supportive business partner.
You're lucky you're not in this room.
I know.
Stop teasing me.
I'm so supportive with it. I don't know why it makes me laugh so hard when you get so frustrated over technology. And
I look over here because my screen's over here and I'm like mad. And the only thing I can see in the screen is me. So I'm mad at myself. But anyway,
okay, let's circle back.
And I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's going to happen again, but it just decided to stop. Because I, of course, don't have anything simple going on. I have too many rules when it comes to camera and audio. Anyway, so I'm building a way to get more strength and reduce some flab. And I say, I know what I want to get to. So I implement rules of on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, I'm going to do, you know what I mean? So that's what we've talked about. We talked about maybe implementing 2 a day acts of kindness as you're out there. And that's buying a coffee. That's helping load a car. I love doing that. And I do it for the people, but I always feel like I'm floating as I walk away. I like doing I did this rule of 5 smiles at people, and not smiles just because I made the rule and I need to check off the box. Like, I'm happy. I want to help brighten people's day. You ever go to a cashier and I don't see well, but I can feel well. Like, I can tell the energy of that employee or person. It's just, they're not happy. Like, it's like, so hi, and you smile, and so how's your day? And maybe now I don't ask that, but I do something and you can feel the energy shift. So those are some rules. There's rules around mental, things you could do to improve positive mindset, thinking of others. There's things you could do around physical, add some rules to that. But again, Kristin, like the big thing that we were hitting on yesterday, which was cool, was having an end in mind. Like, I want to move to unconscious competence and not walk in a store and think only about me and what I'm there to get and how I don't like the lines and how everything costs too much. And oh my gosh, the world is collapsing around me by the time I'm leaving the store, because I'm only focused on me and what I want and how I want to move through the store. So I said, I'm going to have a new rule when I go in a store. I'm not going to be in a rush. I'm going to see if I can be of service and help out. It was a weird thing. It started like I started enjoying it more. It's like in stores I don't like the pharmacy. Ugh. The hardware store, no problem. I could be in there all day and be kind to people. So these are rules to move us from where we are to where we want to be. Am I getting up in the morning and spending time to center myself and get my thoughts in line with my day? Do I have a rule that I follow what's on my calendar? Those types of things. Do I sit at the end of the day and think about, and these are all things I do. These are rules that were rules in the beginning. And how did I consciously know to keep doing them? My computer reminded me, my calendar, my phone did. And it's, well, back in the day, I didn't. In 2006, when I started doing this kind of stuff, there were cell phones. It wasn't 1996. So anyway, that's what I mean. It's like, that's what we talked about yesterday, and it was so good to see things light up. What is a takeaway or something that you wanted to, that you were like, whoa, this is so cool, from yesterday?
Well, there's about 957. However, for the sake of time and everybody's attention span, I got to say 2 quick things. Well, one quick, one a little longer. One of the things you said yesterday that made me take a actual sigh of relief was, you said something to I was trying to write as fast as you were talking, and you said rules become habits and patterns that become discipline. So it's like you have to have the rule in place that, that sounds a little maybe abrasive to some people, but following that rule then creates those habits that then before you know it, you've got this discipline in there where you don't have to think about it anymore. Just like brushing your teeth every morning, you don't have to think about it anymore because you started in a space of, okay, I'm going to do this because maybe I have to, even though we're using the language of I get to. So anyway, that, and also that combined with being in these calls every Monday, when we keep talking about all of these success principles, I'm realizing that it is creating this incredible foundation, because what happens with me now is when I instilled this rule of 5 2 weeks ago to get on these podcasts and reach out to 5 podcasts. Actually, I gather 5 podcasts contact information and reach out on one day. I learned that system from somebody else, and it works for me. Yeah. But what I realized is last week, when I had a lot of other stuff that I put in my schedule, hadn't time blocked this thing yet to figure out when was the best time to do it, I was feeling the pain of regret at the end of the week versus the pain of discipline had I carved out time early in advance. So that's a whole nother success principle that we've talked about time and time again, of the pain of regret versus the pain of discipline. So you see, for people that are watching this, all of this builds on each other and gives you this foundation that you can, okay, I don't know that I feel like doing the 5 today. I'm going to try to get away with it and blame something else. And then you think, oh, but wait a minute. I don't want to wake up tomorrow and say, I really should have done that because now I'm further away from my goal. So that was like the more, success principle side of this. But the biggest aha for me, and I have to start looking into what the science about a person like me is. But a couple of weeks ago, when Tara gave me that visual of don't get in the ring with somebody that wants to keep arguing with me. Now, yesterday, when you gave me that feeling, that scenario, I guess I'll say, of imagine when it's 5 o'clock in the morning and you want to hit that snooze again and not get to the finding 5 contacts for podcasts. Just imagine being announced and introduced on that podcast. This is Kristin Smedley with this incredible children's book, Representing Thriving Blind Academy. That is exactly what happened this morning, Charlie, because it was cold here and I was up late last night, frustrated over the fills. And this morning I was like, and I started cracking up because I'm like, whatever gets you out of bed in the morning, Kristin, hearing yourself be introduced on a podcast. Okay, it worked.
Yeah. And the fact that the children's book, there's a lot of talk about inclusive, and there's a lot of talk about bias, and there's a lot of talk about sighted kids don't get it. And
oh, there goes Charlie's internet again. So Charlie, both of us are talking about, we'll do a little commercial. We're going to have a commercial break while he's fixing his internet. Here is the children's book. What I Can Be is Up to Me. It's inclusive. It has Braille and print. It was illustrated by a low vision illustrator who's also colorblind. I mean, if you can access this visually, all the different colors and the beautiful font and illustrations, it's absolutely incredible. What I Can Be is Up to Me.com is where you can get it. Now, let's tie the commercial into what we're talking about with this rule of 5. I've been working to get on podcasts because this book, what I realized is somebody asked me the one day, I was in a coaching thing and they said, what is something that if you, found out you were no longer going to be here at the end of the day, what would you regret not having done? One is the film that I'm working on about my oldest blind son's baseball season. And the other is getting this book out. Of course, I want it in every first grader's hand around the world. We're going to start with the United States. But it is that important of a book to me because I saw the power of the message that's in this book actually happen in my own life with my oldest son. So he never really had a doubt that a person that is blind could achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve in this world, because he met someone that instilled that in him in one brief meeting when he was 6 years old. And that's why this book is so important. So the rule of 5 is extremely important to me now and it's not necessarily that for folks that are thinking, wait a minute, Kristin, you just said that this is so important. You don't want to die without it getting into all these hands. So how is it that it is so hard to motivate you to get on the reach out to podcasts, to get on them? It's not about that. I'm not motivated. I mean, this is something that is incredibly important to me, right? It's the fact of finding the time with all the other priorities I have and all the other plates that we've got going in the air. And let's face it, if you've ever done a startup, why do you think I'm in a hat most of the time that I'm live for all y'all? Even recorded stuff, I have a hat. I don't have time to even do my hair. And I say that with a big smile because this is some of the most important work I've ever been blessed to do. And look, Charlie and I have a good time, and we have a good time in our mentorship call with everybody in our yearly membership. So having things like these success principles to guide my mindset throughout the day, right? Having a thing like a rule of 5 and committing to that, staying committed. That's another success principle. Being committed, constant and never-ending improvement. I'm constantly now looking at my schedule. How can I move things around? And lo and behold, reaching out and finding 5 good connections for podcasts to reach out to. The best time of day that I can find to do that without getting interrupted is 5:30 to 6:30 in the morning. And I really stay focused because as soon as I hit 5, I move on. And then the next day I find 5 more. And then I sit one day a week and reach out with emails and the media kit and all that stuff to these hosts. And I will say, first you send all that stuff out into the world and then it's like crickets. Like, don't you just want the person to respond and say, oh my God, I can't wait for you to come on my podcast? Yeah, that's not how it works. But I have started getting replies from stuff that I sent out some of them over 2 weeks ago. So that's exciting and motivating, but it's about finding the time to do the stuff that is important to you and that is a priority and that helps move things along. And the rule for me, having that rule of 5, okay, I got to fit this in, managing the other things that I have going on. Will that change over the course of the next couple of months of doing that at 5:30 in the morning? Maybe, or I may switch it out once I get on a good podcast tour. I might be taking a break for a couple of weeks to then use that time reaching out to conferences where we want to share this message with the book. But for right now, it's getting a Hey, speaking of that, if you're watching this and you have a favorite podcast in the education, children's literature, or parenting worlds, those are the 3 elements that we're focusing on right now. I'm focusing on teachers and education podcasts, as well as children's literature. And then we're going to move into looking at parenting podcasts. So if you have a favorite one that you think the children's book and my journey of how I started this journey which wasn't very pretty or powerful. But when I tell that story, I quickly go into how my children and other people empowered me, and it got a heck of a lot better. But if you have a podcast that you love, that you think the story would be a fit for, send it to me. Or better yet, if you know someone that has a podcast or are friendly or have a relationship with a podcast host that it would be a fit for, give me an introduction. You can get me at Kristin, Kristin, at thrivingblindacademy.org, and you can connect me there. So I think Charlie is still having connection issues because he hasn't been able to come back in yet. So it's going to turn into the Kristin show. No, I'm just kidding. Because somewhere if Charlie is able to hear this right now, he is like losing his mind that he can't connect. We will re-talk about this once we have Charlie connected. We'll do another Facebook Live because the information that Charlie shared in the beginning. So let's break this down a little bit. We'll just have a little conversation about how all of this goes, so you have a little more background information. When we do the Monday mentorship calls in the Thriving Blind Academy yearly membership, wait, can you imagine every Monday for an hour? First 30 minutes, Charlie breaks down a success principle, how it relates to all of the things that you have going on. And then we get very specific into how that relates to life with vision loss, life with parenting children with vision loss, all the things. And then the second half of the hour, people that are in the mentorship call give their feedback or their strategies or struggles that they're having. I mean, it is just an absolutely incredible conversation. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this, there have been some things going on in my world that these calls have helped me every week take giant leaps forward. We talk about in the Academy about we encourage and guide and mentor people to take the next right step. I am telling you all, the past couple of weeks, I have been taking the next giant leap in my journey. So imagine that. Half an hour, 30 minutes of breaking down a success principle and how to really implement it in your life. And then another 30 minutes of questions about how can this really work for me? But I have this going on. Does it really work in this realm? And then we pull in other success principles and conversations that we've had from other weeks. And it is unbelievable. Now, that happens every Monday for an hour. Every Monday, we take the 2 weeks in July off to start our whole new program for the next year. And there are some holidays throughout the year that fall on a Monday. Other than that, we are in that Zoom room with those mentorship calls every Monday. On top of that, we just did a whole education, the superpower stuff of how to have a success in the K-12 system. We've got one coming up about having success in job interviews. We have the Succeed Without Sight Summit and all of the prior summits, all the hours, all of this content and all of these live things, all the replays are in the membership portal for the yearly members to access. And it's $97 for the entire year, of all of that content. Yes, we do that because it is important to us for things to be accessible, affordable, and be held accountable. So, and we're blessed to have sponsors that help us be able to do that. So, all right, I'm going to wrap this up now because we are going to go back into a big conversation about the rule of 5 when Charlie is able to work out the system that he. I am going to let you all in on something because Charlie's not here and I can tell you the whole entire thing. I am cracking up because I am like, when it's time to go live, like something happened with one of my lights and I was at the hardware store yesterday trying to get light bulbs. And I literally had to go like with blinders on my eyes to not see everything because I can spend hours in the hardware store and I talk to everybody and I want to do all these projects. So anyway, I go and get my light bulbs. The system looks terrible. I mean, Charlie would twitch if he was in my studio right now with what I've got going on. There's stuff everywhere. I mean, it is just, I really have to revisit what I've got going on here. And Charlie says to me this morning, well, I have one button that I hit and all my lights come on. I have one button over here and all this happens. And I was like, I think karma's going to get you. And Karma just did. Somewhere he is like pounding his fist on the table that I am sitting here cracking up. Anywho, we will have Charlie. We will have a whole new. We'll redo this whole thing so that he can really give you the incredible lessons and insights and just the information that Charlie can deliver in the way he delivers it. You sit there and go, "Oh my God, I think that just changed my week, my month, and my life." But anyway, so we have the Succeed Without Sight Summit is coming up. It's thrivingblindacademy.org/summit. The registration is not open yet, but if you bookmark that, or do we still say bookmark with websites? I don't know. If you save that, however you save them, or if you're like me, this also drives Charlie crazy. I have 157 million tabs open on my laptop, and that reminds me I have to go back to them. And then when I have to close down a whole system, when we host a masterclass or webinar, I'm like, oh my gosh, taking screenshots to remember what it is that I have to go back to. But if you go to thrivingblindacademy.org/summit and save that site, that web URL, we are updating it constantly as we're having confirmations from speakers and getting our portal. We're just working out a couple of things as we're switching over to this other portal for your registrations and so that things do not get lost and crossed in systems. But that will be open. It should be by the end of this week that you can register free, totally free. It's 4 hours of nonstop. There's I don't necessarily like to say inspiration because that's like, oh, great, you're inspired for 5 minutes. And then what are you going to do? It is inspirational to when you think that maybe something is impossible. And then you hear somebody like, oh my gosh, Duncan from Australia, that is a blind sculpture, and oh, here comes Charlie, sculpture person. And I mean, just the stuff that people do in this world that you think is impossible. And then you realize it's not only possible, it's like cool, right? So there is a level of inspiration to it, but it's strategies, it's the next right steps. And there's a lot of moments where it's the giant leap forward. So that's coming up on December 2nd. And it's 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. because we got to play with a lot of time zones in there. And yes, Charlie and Sam will be back with their assistive tech talk. That was such a big hit last year. I always sat there and laughed because they are so funny during it. Charlie's back. Maybe. Can you hear us? We
Hello.
can hear you. So don't say anything.
Oh, good.
I don't want the world to hear.
I can't hear you, but
Oh, now you're muted. All right. We are going to work out our technical difficulties, and then we will be back again with the rule of 5 and an incredibly fun conversation, as we always do. Charlie's waving because he can't access the mic anyway. Okay, hold on. Let's get out of this.